Awaken Light Audio. Awaken your mind, ignite your light.
Daily things you need to improve in your life. Small steps, big impact. What if the greatest transformation of your life came from what you did today, not someday, not from some grand moment in the future, not from a breakthrough, a promotion, or a miracle, but from the invisible choices you make right now when no one is watching? What if the extraordinary version of you is just one small decision away, repeated daily? Not a complete overhaul, not perfection, just one simple action done again and again, until it becomes who you are. What if the secret to success, fulfillment, and inner peace isn't out there, but in what you choose to improve right now? The morning you choose to stretch instead of scroll, the moment you choose stillness over stimulation, the breath you take before reacting, the single promise you keep to yourself emotionally. Transition from scattered effort to aligned evolution. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to wait until Monday or January 1st or when things finally settle down. You just have to choose one small improvement today and then another tomorrow and another the day after that, because the life you want, the peace, the power, the purpose, it's already waiting for you on the other side of small, repeated effort. This isn't about hustle. This is about harmony. This is about crafting a life that's not rushed, but rooted. So take a breath, let go of the pressure to be everything at once, and come with me into a journey of small steps that lead to massive impact. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Reprogram your mindset. You don't become what you want, you become what you believe. By Oprah Winfrey. What if the biggest thing holding you back isn't your circumstances, your past, or your lack of resources, but the story you've been telling yourself? Stories like, I'm not disciplined enough, I always mess things up, I don't have what it takes. These aren't truths, they're just thoughts, repeated so often they became belief and beliefs. They shape your choices, and your choices shape your life. So if you want to change your life, you must first change the story in your mind. From limitation to possibility, your mindset isn't fixed, it's a lens. And every day, you can choose which lens to look through. The fixed mindset says, I can't. I've always been this way. What's the point of trying? The growth mindset says, I can learn. I haven't figured it out yet. Every failure is feedback. The difference? Not ability, not intelligence, just perspective. You're not rewiring yourself into someone new. You're remembering the version of you who wasn't afraid to try. You've been taught to doubt yourself more than you've been trained to trust yourself. You've inherited fears that weren't yours. You've internalized criticism that was never true. You've lived in cages built by other people's projections. But now, you have a choice. Keep running the same mental program or install a new one. That speaks life into your vision. One that believes in your power before the proof appears. One that says, I am becoming. And that's more than enough for today. The first practice, the daily thought audit, once per day. Pause and ask yourself, is this thought helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Then do this. If it's a limiting thought, example, I always fail, write it down. Underneath it, reframe it to something empowering, example, I learn from every attempt. Say the new thought out loud. Let it sink in. Do this for just one thought a day. In 30 days, your inner dialogue won't sound the same, and neither will your actions. Whisper to yourself, I don't have to believe everything I think. I choose thoughts that build, not break. Once you reprogram how you think, you'll start to feel something shift. You'll notice your energy change. You'll feel less reactive, more responsive, more grounded, more powerful. And when your mindset begins to shift, you naturally begin to ask, if I believe I can, what am I now willing to improve? That leads us to your next step. Chapter 2. Master your skill set. Small improvements daily, stacked over time, lead to stunning results. By Robin Sharma, we admire people with extraordinary skills: the speaker who commands the room, the artist who creates magic with a brush, the leader who inspires action with a single sentence. But we forget something crucial. They weren't born that way. They became that way. By choosing growth over comfort every single day, your potential isn't fixed. It expands with every repetition, every hour invested, every tiny decision to show up. Mastery isn't a destination, it's a direction, and you move toward it with daily, deliberate practice, the 1% rule, compounding growth. You don't need to make huge leaps, you just need to improve by 1% each day. 1% better at listening, 1% better at leading, 1% better at managing time, speaking clearly, or solving problems. Do that for 365 days, you're 37 times better than when you started. That's not magic, that's math, and it works. Only when you respect the small. We often wait for perfect conditions before we start. I'll study when I have time. I'll work on my craft. When I feel more confident, I'll improve once I know exactly what I'm doing. But that's just fear. Dressed up as logic, action creates clarity. The doing teaches you far more than the waiting ever could. And skill only sharpens through use, not thought. So pick up the tool, show up at the page, open the camera, try, fail, repeat. And in that rhythm, you become unstoppable. The second practice, the 15-minute skill builder. Choose one skill you want to master. Just one, then commit to practicing it for 15 minutes per day. Not an hour, not until you're inspired, just 15 focused minutes. Use a timer. Remove distractions. Track your progress because repetition creates rhythm, and rhythm creates excellence. Talk to yourself. Excellence is not what I do sometimes. It's who I become every day. Now, here's the beautiful part. As you begin to sharpen your skills, you'll notice something else begins to shift. Your energy, your physical state, your ability to show up fully and consistently. Because what's the point of building your skills if you don't have the energy and vitality to sustain them? That's where we go next. Chapter 3, Honor Your Health. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. By Jim Rohn. In a world obsessed with appearance, numbers on a scale, and short-term fitness challenges, we forget the most sacred truth. Your body is not a machine to be punished. It is your home. It is where your soul lives. It is the only vessel. You have to carry your dreams forward, and if you want to improve your life, you need the energy, clarity, and stability that only a body can give you. Small shifts, big results. You don't need to follow a perfect diet. You don't need to become a gym warrior. You don't need to biohack your biology into something extreme. You just need to move with intention, eat with awareness, rest with permission, and repeat. Not about being fit, it's about being fueled. It's about creating the conditions in which your best self can actually show up. Today, tomorrow, and decades from now. Think about this. When you're tired, stressed, bloated, stiff, how well do you focus? How present are you in conversations? How patient, creative, confident do you feel? Health isn't about how you look. It's about how you feel inside your life. And when your energy rises, so does your ability to think clearly, love deeply, speak powerfully, and move purposefully. Return to what you already know deep inside. I feel better when I care for my body like it matters, because it does. The third practice, the daily 3 move, fuel, rest. Every day, check in with these 3 questions. Did I move my body today? Did I fuel myself with something nourishing? Did I give myself proper rest? Track it if you like, but more importantly, feel it. This is about reconnecting to your body's wisdom. Tell yourself, I protect my vessel so I can carry my vision. Once your body feels supported, your energy starts to flow more freely. And from that space of vitality, you begin to show up differently, not just for yourself, but in your relationships. Because the next layer of daily improvement, it's how you show up for others and how you let them show up for you. Let's dive into Chapter 4. Elevate your relationships. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. By Tony Robbins. We are wired for connection, but somewhere along the way, we began to confuse proximity with intimacy, performance. With presence and people-pleasing with love, we collect contacts, followers, surface-level friendships, yet feel unseen, unheard, unknown because real connection isn't built through more interaction. It's built through more intention. If you want to improve your life, start by improving the way you show up in your relationships with honesty, with depth, with love that is rooted in truth, not expectation, from obligation to intention. Many of us live in relationship autopilot. We call because we should. We listen without truly hearing. We give while quietly resenting. We overextend, trying to hold things together and lose ourselves in the process. But what if, instead of trying to be everything for everyone, you became fully present for just a few? What if you stopped trying to fix others and simply started seeing them? What if you dropped the mask and dared to be known? The truth is, you teach people how to love you by how you love yourself. If you constantly abandon your own needs, you're training others to do the same. If you never express your truth, you're building a relationship on silence, not trust. When you show up fully, you give others permission to do the same. And that's where real connection begins. Not in perfection, but in presence. The next practice, one intentional act of connection. Each day, choose one person in your life, friend, partner, family, colleague. Ask yourself, how can I show up intentionally for them today? Ideas, send a voice note. Instead of a text, ask a deeper question, not just how are you? Give a compliment from the heart. Listen without interrupting. Share something vulnerable. These small acts, they build bonds stronger than any grand gesture. Remind yourself, I give love, not to get, but to grow. And once your relationships feel more grounded, not in obligation, but in authenticity, you'll start to notice something else. Your attention sharpens. Your time feels more sacred. Your ability to be fully here increases, because the next step on this journey of daily transformation is not about doing more. It's about being present for what matters most. Up next, Chapter 5. Train your focus. Your focus determines your reality. By Qui-Gon Jinn, Star Wars. We live in a world that steals your attention every second. Pings, scrolls, emails, alerts. Noise is everywhere. And if you don't guard your focus, you lose it not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 tiny distractions. And with it, you lose your time, your clarity, your progress. Because where your focus goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life grows. Focus is a muscle. Train it. You weren't born with a short attention span. You were trained into one. But just like your muscles, your mind can rebuild its strength through consistency, resistance, and deliberate practice. Focus isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters deeper and more intentionally. One task, one breath, one full presence at a time. Every time you switch tasks, you lose time. Every time you multitask, you divide your energy. Every time you check out mentally, you abandon your power. Ask yourself, what is being delayed in my life because I'm not fully present for it? Maybe it's your writing, your business, your healing, or your relationships. The truth is, your dream isn't waiting for more time. It's waiting for more focus from you. One more practice, the focus window. Try this simple system daily. Set a 25-minute timer, no distractions, no notifications. Choose one task, work until the timer ends. Take a 5-minute mindful break, walk, breathe, don't scroll, repeat up to 3 times. Just one focused window like this a day can move projects forward that you've been stuck on for months. Consistency over chaos. Depth over speed. Whisper to yourself, where my focus goes, my life flows. When you begin to master focus, something profound happens. You stop being busy and start being intentional. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop drifting and start building. And that brings us to a core truth. All great lives are built on habits, because motivation comes and goes, but what you do daily becomes who you are. Let's move into Chapter 6. Reshape your habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. By James Clear, we often chase massive change, a new diet, a strict routine, a 30-day challenge, but we forget something essential. Your life is not changed by what you do once, it's changed by what you repeat, especially when no one is watching. Your habits are your true identity in motion. If you want to be confident, build habits that honor your worth. If you want to be focused, build habits that protect your attention. If you want to be successful, build habits that keep you consistent, even on the hard days, from willpower to identity. The reason most people fail at habits, they rely on willpower alone. But willpower is a limited resource. The secret to lasting change is not discipline, it's identity. Don't just say, I want to read more. Say, I'm a reader, even if it's just 1 page a day. Don't just say, I want to work out. Say, I'm the kind of person who moves every day, no matter what. Because when your actions align with your identity, habits become automatic. Ask yourself, what is one habit I'm keeping that's keeping me small? What is one habit I could build that would change everything over time? Maybe it's the nightly scrolling that steals your sleep. Maybe it's skipping breakfast. Rushing through your morning. Maybe it's self-criticism, disguised as self-improvement. Now imagine replacing just one of those with a new pattern. What would that create? Not in a week, but in a year. Because habits are like compound interest. They don't seem to matter at first, but over time, they build the future you live in. Another practice, 1 habit, 1 week. Each week, choose 1 habit to add, remove, or reshape. Use this format. Trigger. What will remind you? Behavior. What will you do? Keep it small. Example, 2-minute stretch. Reward. How will you celebrate? Stick to just 1, small enough that it's almost too easy, because success isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. To yourself, my habits are the vote I cast for the person I choose to become. And now, you've begun to build daily systems, not just for performance, but for peace. Not for show, but for growth. But as your habits become more aligned, your mind will begin to crave something deeper. Learning, expansion, curiosity, because growth isn't only about doing, it's also about what you're feeding your mind. Next up. Chapter 7. Expand your knowledge. Once you stop learning, you start dying. By Albert Einstein. In a world overflowing with information, it's easy to forget. Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is and in the right dose at the right time. It doesn't just change your understanding, it changes your direction. You don't need to read 100 books a year. You don't need a degree to be wise. You just need 1 insight per day that makes you think, reflect, or shift something inside. That's the kind of learning that transforms a life. Not accumulation, but integration. Curiosity is your superpower. Children grow fast because they're curious. Adults slow down when they stop asking questions. But you can be both. Wise and wide, experienced, and always exploring your next breakthrough. Might come from a podcast, or a single quote, or a story that finally clicks, but it only comes if you stay open, So don't wait for inspiration. Feed your mind the way you feed your body, daily, deliberately, and with love. Think about the most impactful idea you learned in the last year. Did it come from a book, a conversation, a moment of stillness? Now imagine receiving one insight like that every day. Not to impress anyone, not to feel productive, but to become more aware, more grounded, more awake to life. Because you don't grow by force, you grow by exposure. You grow by planting seeds of thought and letting them take root. And the best part, you don't have to chase them, you just have to make space for them. The next practice, the 30-minute curiosity hour each day. Set aside 30 minutes, no goal, no pressure, just exploration. You can read a chapter, watch an educational video, journal through a question, listen to a soully expanding podcast, revisit an old idea with a new perspective. This isn't about becoming an expert, it's about becoming a student of life. Tell yourself every day, I learn. I outgrow who I was yesterday. Now that your mind is expanding, you're starting to feel more capable, more alive, more ready. But here's the paradox. Even as you grow, life will test you. It will challenge your peace, disrupt your plans, stretch your limits, and what determines your success then is not just what you know or do, but how you bounce back. So now, let's strengthen the inner core. Chapter 8. Build unshakable resilience. Resilience is not about never breaking. It's about knowing how to bend and still rise. Let's face it, life won't always go as planned. There will be setbacks, heartbreaks, delays, losses, doubts. But what if your strength isn't proven by avoiding the fall, but by how you rise from it? Resilience doesn't mean being unshaken. It means being rooted. It means you may bend in the storm, but you never break the gift inside the challenge. What if every difficulty came with an invitation? Not to suffer, but to evolve. Not to harden, but to deepen. Not to collapse, but to clarify what really matters. Every time life tests you, you discover something new about yourself, your strength, your wisdom, your capacity to begin again, even with a bruised heart. Pain doesn't define you. How you meet it does. Ask yourself, what has hurt me the most, but also taught me the most? What part of me did I find in the middle of that storm? You'll realize this. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof you survived. They are maps of the places you've grown through. They are the ink of your becoming. And no matter how many times you fall, if you rise with more truth, more grace, more presence, then nothing was wasted. The next practice, the Bounce Back Journal. Each evening, reflect on one challenge from your day, big or small. Then answer these 3 questions. What did I feel? What did I learn? How did I respond? And how do I want to respond next time? This simple habit rewires your brain from fear to awareness, from panic to power, from reaction to response. Remind yourself, nothing breaks me. It simply bends me toward becoming. Now that you've built emotional strength, now that you've learned to rise with grace, there's a different kind of energy waiting to be unlocked, not just recovery, but creation. Because true growth is not only measured by what you overcome, but by what you're now ready to build, to dream, to express. Let's unleash that part of you next. Chapter 9. Ignite your creativity. You were born to create, not to compete. Too many people believe they're not creative because they don't paint, because they can't sing, because they never wrote a poem. But creativity is not about art, it's about a lifeline SS. It's how you solve problems, how you express yourself, how you bring new ideas into the world that didn't exist before. Even if that's just the way you decorate your space, cook your meal, or design your day. You don't have to be an artist to be creative. You just have to be awake to what's trying to come through you. Creativity is rebellion. When the world tells you to follow routines, creativity whispers. There's another way. When life feels rigid, creativity invites you to play when stress, seriousness, and sameness take over. Creativity says, let's make this sacred again. You don't need permission to create, you only need presence and a little courage to follow what sparks joy, wonder, or curiosity, even if no one else understands it. When was the last time you did something for no other reason than because it felt good to your soul? No result, no productivity, just for you. Because creativity isn't about performance, it's about connection. To yourself, to your essence, to that child inside who still believes in magic, possibility, and play. And when you create, you don't just make art. You remember who you are. Another practice, 10-minute idea flow, every morning or evening. Spend 10 minutes doing something creative. No pressure, just flow. You could free write in a journal, sketch random shapes, brainstorm wild ideas, make a voice memo of thoughts, create a tiny ritual that's yours alone. No filters, no rules, just space for your inner genius to stretch its legs. The more you honor this part of you, the more alive and original your entire life becomes. Whisper to yourself, creation flows through me because I stay open. Now that your creativity is unlocked, your life doesn't just feel productive, it feels soulful, it feels yours. And that brings us to a deeper truth. When your mind is clear, your habits aligned, your relationships intentional, and your energy alive, you begin to ask, what am I here to give? Let's explore that final and perhaps most sacred dimension of daily growth. Chapter 10. Amplify your contribution. Your life is not about you, it's about what you do with it for others. After all the growth, after all the habits, healing, and breakthroughs, there comes a deeper calling, not just to be more, but to give more, because the purpose of all your personal growth isn't just to become your best self for you, but so you can show up fully for the world around you. Your presence. Don't need a big platform, you don't need 1 million followers, you just need a heart that's willing to ask, how can I make someone's day better? Starting with today. Purpose in the present moment. Contribution isn't about grand gestures, it's about small moments, lived with great meaning. Holding space for a friend who's struggling. Encouraging someone who's doubting, sharing your story so others feel less alone. Creating something that lifts people higher, even just choosing kindness when it's inconvenient. These moments, they ripple, they matter, and they become the legacy you build. Quietly and consistently, every single day. You may never fully know the impact you've had. A smile that softened someone's anger, a word that kept someone going, a piece of wisdom that bloomed in a stranger's heart years later. But that's the beauty of contribution. It multiplies beyond your knowing. You are always planting seeds, and every act of service, no matter how small, makes this world a softer, braver, more beautiful place. The last practice, the daily ripple. Each morning, ask yourself, who needs me today, and how can I serve them, quietly and meaningfully? It could be sending a kind message, sharing your learning, helping someone without being asked, leaving space for someone to be heard. This is not about recognition, it's about resonance. Whisper to yourself, I am not here to impress. I am here to impact. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to begin with small steps, done daily, from a place of awareness, alignment, and authenticity. Because everything you want, the confidence, the peace, the purpose, the impact, it doesn't begin with something big, it begins with something real, something you. So today, take the next small step. Then tomorrow, take another, and let those steps create the life that was always meant for you.
Thank you for spending this moment with Awaken Light Audio. If something today touched your heart or opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. What spoke to you most? Tell us about your journey, your questions. Send it their way. because light grows when it's shared. Until next time, stay present, stay awakened, and keep becoming who you're meant to be.